We are down to just 49 golfers left in the FedEx Cup playoffs. No Sepp Straka for this week, but Rory McIlroy back in the field to take on Scotty Scheffler and more for the BMW Championship today. We're going to break down our thoughts on Caves Valley, letting you know keys to the course, letting you know our favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the top PGA DFS plays as well. Welcome on into the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast. My name is JimSannes. I am a managing editor for FanDuel Research, joined here as I am every Tuesday by Brandon Gdula. Check him out on X at Gdula13. He is on Blue Sky at Gdula. You can find his work at FanDuel Research, where he is a senior managing editor. Brandon, BMW Championship is this week. How you doing today?
Did you say there were 2 events left?
In the FedEx Cup playoffs?
Yeah.
Is that not true?
Well, some might call that.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
The penultimate.
Our annual conversation about the worst word that has ever existed in the history of the English language.
I get it once a year.
And given English is the worst language, I feel like we can call it the worst word of all time if it's the worst word in the English language.
It's just such a peculiar take that I have to.
It's just so overused relative to like how cool of a word it is. Like it's a bad word and it's just overused in these contexts.
How is it a bad word?
Penultimate?
Yeah.
It has no flow, no rhythm. Who walks around being like, yeah, penultimate. I feel cool. I don't. It's awful.
I don't think anybody does that, but
there are lots of words you can walk around and say and like feel cool. Like, and penultimate ain't one. So I'm out, man. I'm out. Okay. Caves. Valley. Those are cool words.
True. That is true. I don't like caves though, but it's a cool word.
I'm afraid of bats, so I understand your fear of caves. I will join you in that fear, which is concerning given I will be at Caves Valley on Thursday for the first round. So I might need to get over that. Also, I might need to bring like 16 towels because it's going to be 96 on Thursday. So I'm getting over several fears and or issues this week. You should be proud of me.
I'd be more proud of you if you would put me on the right path for a win pick for the end of this season.
That's not going to happen because, as you can see, I had to like rearrange my bobblehead shelf with my new place, and so things are out of place, and I've got some vacancies. Like George the Painter, it's a Bristol bobblehead. It's a very niche reference. I don't need George up there. It's going to be replaced by a Pierre Gasly Lego set, but like got 2 Elliott Sadler bobbleheads. I could get rid of one of those. Got some Wisconsin Woodchucks paraphernalia behind me. I've got vacancies for a bobblehead, so I need to win picks thanks to Russell Henley in order to beef up the bookshelf once again.
It's just too bad I didn't actually go with Justin Rose.
You had Tommy, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you did. Okay. I was really worried about that because I thought you had Fleetwood as one of your bets last week.
No, I went with Justin Thomas and Victor Hovland, which was not good, but much better was actually, being on Justin Rose. So.
Yeah, you got actual real money out of Justin Rose as opposed to and more than the $25 value of the hat that I would have gotten to you had that one. So I feel like it's for the best. And like you could use the money you won betting Justin Rose to win to buy the hat that I would buy you.
Yeah, but like I hate losing this thing. It really drives me.
Can't you take solace in the fact you've already beaten me in the bobble hat and you've beaten me for a month and a half, or it's been clinched for that long already?
Yeah, but then it's just a wash.
But also you won the bobble hat last week, which means that you get to pick first this week. And it sounds like we're on the same guys. One of them is long enough to be in your range, your hotspot. Rory's not. But I am concerned about that because you can take some guys I'd otherwise take to block you.
But I don't even know if I'm going to take him. I have
That's
2
true.
other names I'd probably take. So
yeah. Okay. Well, everything is to play for. Not just to the PGA Tour golfers. They could win 3.6 million, but who cares? It's more about the $25 I might owe Brandon via this win picks contest everything to play for the final two events of the FedEx Cup playoffs. We're going to break down the BMW Championship, let you know what you should know about Caves Valley, a seldom used course in the PGA Tour, keys to this week, our favorite bets at FanDuel Sportsbook, and the top DFS plays on FanDuel as well. But first, a reminder to make sure you're subscribed to the FanDuel Research Podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Next week is the Tour Championship. We'll have a show for that. But then, just a couple of weeks after, NFL is back. We're going to preview every week of the NFL season from a DFS perspective right here in the same feed. So go to the FanDuel Research Podcast feed, wherever you get your podcasts. Hit subscribe, and if you like what you hear, leave us a 5-star rating and review as well. Of course, all these shows on the FanDuel Golf Betting YouTube page. Check out that. And the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page for the heat check once that returns as well. On Tuesday, August 26th, it's FanDuel Futures Day, a new holiday for football fans. It's 24 hours of deals and all your favorite season predictions. Take a flyer on the MVP race, crown your champion in August, or parlay your division winner, dark horses. Mark your calendars. This is your day for your hunches, your hot takes, your calls, and your odds. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Help is here. Visit gamblinghelpline.ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Let's take a look now at the BMW Championship. Get in the know what you need to know about Caves Valley Golf Club. It is 7,601 yards and a par 70. It did last host an event, the BMW, back in 2021, but it's undergone pretty major renovations since then, lengthened about 200 or so yards since that time. There are 49 golfers in the field. Sepp Straka did withdraw, so it is a no-cut event. And the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings after this week advance to next week's Tour Championship. So again, a lot on the line for this week. Brandon, what should people know about Caves Valley based on that one event of data we do have prior to the renovation?
Oh, yeah. One event of data is always difficult. Where you got to find the balance of how much stock you put into that. But we did see a playoff win by Patrick Cantlay at 27 under par back in 2021 at the BMW Championship at Caves Valley. He beat one Bryson DeChambeau. Again, both finished 27 under par. There was a big gap between those two and the rest of the field, with Sungjae Im at 23 under, Rory McIlroy 22, Eric Van Rooyen was 21 under, and then Dustin Johnson and Sergio Garcia 20 under. A lot of live guys peppering the top like 15 or so. So it's really anyone's game this week, I guess, by comparison. But it was an interesting note just to see all those names there. But okay, so what do we do with the information? Well, it's a very long par 70. And over 7,600 yards for a par 70, just very, very long. One of the longest courses on tour all year, actually. The fairways rate out about average 33.1 yards, according to Data Golf. Tour average is right around that. Like I said, it's average. So, but there are smaller than average green sizes at 5,200 square feet. PGA Tour average is slightly over 6,000. Greens are bent grass. And again, you go back to that 27 under par number. And I rattled off all of those scores at 20 under or better. Well, it was pretty soft conditions back in 2021. Probably not going to be as soft this year for what that's worth. But I do think that there are enough takeaways from 2021 that we can kind of get some learnings and also just do some applications in general. Length is going to be at a premium this week, given that overall distance, yes. But if you look at a hole-by-hole breakdown, you really see where this comes into play. Only 2 holes are shorter than average for the tour. There's a 330-yard par 4, the 11th, The 5th is also a par 4 at 367. Other than that, everything is as long as the tour average or longer. And 8 holes are at least 10% longer than the tour average relative to par. Notably, 3 long par 3s, 5 long par 4s as well. So it's just like kind of unrelenting in that case. And you look at the average fairway width, it's not necessarily enough to sort of say you got to hit the fairways. Realistically, there's going to be a heavy emphasis on distance this week. There was that emphasis also came through on long approaches. A lot of long approaches of 175 plus yards back in 2021, even over 200, over 250. So distance itself is going to matter. Even with the dog legs, there's just not a lot of emphasis on accuracy. And to be honest, I think this is a week where we really emphasize driving distance, which is going to come into play for a couple names, a couple bets that I like or don't like, as well as some DFS plays. So realistically, though, beyond that, it was a good field, of course, BMW Championship back in 2021. Not a lot of weaknesses in terms of any stats profile or any segment of the stats profile. So kind of want some all-around golfers, and that puts me on a pretty simplified list of stats, which is always how I play it. But strokes gained approach, strokes gained putting, because putting was just basically the leaderboard was pretty much the best putters. I'll get into that in 1 second. But strokes gained approach, strokes gained putting, strokes gained off the tee with an emphasis on driving distance, and proximity from 175 plus yards. Just for quick context, I'm going to rattle off the leaderboard top down in terms of their strokes gained putting numbers for the week back in 2021. First, second, fourth, 10th, 18th, 7th, 8th, 13th, 3rd, 11th, and 9th. Those were the guys who finished T9 or better. So one name worse than 13th there. So got to make some putts as well this week.
That is concerning. And don't tend to love spots where we're trying to hunt down guys who feast in the greens. I think that's a better part of our process than it used to be, at least, which is reassuring. But it could lead us towards some guys we do like. There are some guys who we tend to pump up on the show a little bit who actually are good putters now. So I feel better about that now than I would have back then. You mentioned the leaderboard back in 2021 was littered with a lot of live guys. So the golfers who did best at this event when it was here in 2021, a lot of them are not here. But of the golfers who are here, Brandon, who excelled at Caves Valley back in 2021?
So Patrick Cantlay won. He beat Bryson DeChambeau in a playoff, 27 under. Led the field that week in putting, as I mentioned, and Bryson was second, which I also just mentioned. Cantlay, 20th in approach for the week, 28th in strokes gained tee to green, but kind of the outlier from that perspective. There was a pretty good emphasis on tee to green. The rest of the top 5 was 3rd, 5th, 4th, and 1st in tee to green. Again, Cantlay 28th, so a bit of an outlier from that perspective. So he won. Recently missed the cut at the Open Championship. Was T9 a week ago. While finishing 4th in approach. And Cantlay's approach numbers have been really good of late. It's interesting. I kind of am considering him, or I was. He's not long off the tee. There's still some inconsistencies. The putting, the underlying putter splits aren't great. But I think there's a reason to be interested in Cantlay, who's just kind of been a low ceiling player. He's always been a low ceiling player, which is why he's one of those names that we flag as like, oh, this guy's great, but he never wins. The ceiling itself just isn't really there. Speaking of not a lot of ceiling, although that's probably not even fair, but Sungjae Im was one of 2 golfers along with Bryson back in 2021 to finish top 5 in strokes gained tee to green and putting for the week. He hit the second most fairways of the week, but he still wound up 4 shots off of the playoff pace at 23 under par. Last week, T17 for his second straight, very, very slightly positive week in strokes gained approach.
Which was his first time doing it at all since the Masters last year. No, sorry, the Masters this year.
No. Yeah, 12 straight events with negative approach leading in.
Yeah.
That's
he had
not ideal.
Strokes and approach since the Masters prior to the Wyndham.
Yeah, and that's actually the finish that made me think of like, well, it's probably not fair to call him a low upside guy because he was lively at the Masters finishing T5. He's got a couple other top 25s in that span, bounced back with the T17. It was T27 at the Wyndham, but a lot of missed cuts, just really, really bad iron play long-term for Sung Jae. So if someone's going to ask, like, how much stock are you putting into what they did in 2021? Not a lot.
None. Like
Well,
I when it confirms what I want, the agendas I want to push,
yeah.
sure. That's the only time that I care.
Okay, well, maybe this
Which
is
might bring
relevant
us
for
to
you
our
or
third
not.
golfer on the list. Yes.
Yes. Finishing solo fourth was one Rory McIlroy. 22 under, was fourth best in tee to green, 10th best in putting for the week. Notably sat out a week ago. Not
still second in the FedEx Cup standings.
I mean, I don't know. I don't say what's the point, but like, he's gonna finish top 30. So
I do the same thing. If I can stay home and not lose any positioning, cool, sign me up.
But in his most recent start, T7 at the Open Championship, and to be honest, I rattled off like I want distance and putting. Rory still does not get enough respect for how good of a putter he is, which is kind of egregious, but he's gained at least 1.19 strokes per round in putting in 3 straight, the Travelers, the Scottish Open, and the Open. 2 of those, he was at least a 1.8. If you look at his underlying putting splits as well, probably should have had this pulled up, but he is a 52nd percentile putter from within 15 feet on tour this year, so average. He is the best putter from beyond that, which you would say, oh, he's going to regress, but he's still baseline from within 15 feet. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with being a good putter on long putts. It's just if you're all long putts and missing a bunch of shorties by comparison, that's where you have an issue. So you want length. You frankly like want a level of, I mean, you want distance, but you also kind of want someone who can go very likely beat Scotty. Like, Rory's really interesting. So I know you said that you don't care about what people did here 4 years ago, but it does work out in your favor for Rory. I'll just say that.
It very much does. And I'm okay with that because, again, it confirms my priors.
And then the only other name I'm going to get into, because this is the only other name finishing better than T17, who's also in this field, is Sam Burns, who is 8th. Sam Burns, you know, interesting profile for sure, was T10 and tee to green back in 2021, 13th in putting, finished 13 under. That can't be right, is it? There's no way that's right. Hold on. Where's my tab? 19 under.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes more sense. T9 in 2021. So 39th in approach, not great. Last week, T28 in Memphis, despite positive approach, he was 27th there, and putting, where he was first. So Burns, you know, he's been trending up. He's been close, but also really ever since the US Open, it never felt like he was going to convert on his upside, like his upside swing. And so I'm not really there for Burns. And the only other name finishing top 20 back in 2021 was Victor Hovland. T17, I cut him off here because, frankly, I'm disappointed in Victor Hovland. And I don't really want to talk about him too much. But does anybody here warrant more conversation for now?
Well, I agree with you on Burns, which is disappointing because you said we want distance and putting, and he has both those. They don't call him bentgrass Burns, though, unfortunately, and it's bentgrass greens this week, so maybe the putting won't be as spiky as it can be for Bermuda Burns. But I kind of had the same takeaway where, like, yes, I like it for Rory, not in on Sung Jae. I'm not in on Cantlay. I think that the Ryder Cup discussion has made people a bit more out on Patrick Cantlay than they potentially should be, like maybe where they're downplaying his like overall abilities a bit, but still, even at cost, the market hasn't soured on Patrick Cantlay enough where I can buy in. So I'm kind of on board with you. We're the only guy who is on this list. Well, I'm like into this week at DFS salary or betting price is Rory.
Yeah, and even if I included Hovland there, I think it would still be kind of the same.
I don't mind it for DFS, but it's not a situation where I'm like clamoring to use him. It's just because his salary is 95. I think that's a low enough salary where sure I'll use him, but I'm not like leaping out of my chair to get there.
And it's a bummer too, because I liked him to win last week, and it just everything I liked was not there for him. So,
Correct.
I mean, I'm not going to say, well, he played good here 4 years ago. He's going to play well, this week. And frankly, like, his irons were fine last week. It just, the rest of the game wasn't there enough to go out and get a win. And that's kind of where he is right now. So I'm with you. Rory stands out, but I'm not going to go overboard for one event 4 years ago.
I agree. So instead, let's discuss the current form entering this week and mention a guy I think whose name we said just once so far, despite the fact that he is plus 220 to win a FanDuel Sportsbook. That is Scotty Scheffler. Nearly won last week, but Justin Rose did rally. JJ Spawn able to fend him off as well. Scotty plus 220. He's plus 220 for a reason, Brandon, as you dive into the data of the past 3 months. Who has stood out as far as their form entering the BMW Championship?
Yeah, so Scotty leads the way over the last 3 months. According to Data Golf's True Strokes Gained query, he's gaining an average of 3.57 shots on the field over an 8-event sample the last 3 months. He has gone T7, T6, T8, win at the Open, and T3 since winning 3 of 4 starts prior to that stretch. It's pretty absurd. He played here in 2021, finished T22 while ranking 5th in strokes gained approach. Over the last 3 months, he leads the field in strokes gained tee to green, and he's 8th in putting. I kind of alluded to, I guess I did more than allusion, to talking about how good of a putter Rory McIlroy is and how he doesn't get enough credit. What's scary is that, and again, Rory, 52nd percentile putter from within 15 feet, 100th percentile from beyond that. Scotty's like the inverse. He's 94th percentile from within 15 feet, but 25th percentile on longer putts, which just mathematically and from the research I've done kind of indicates that he's going to make a couple longer putts, and he's already making the makeable putts.
Oh boy.
That's what's scary. And so if you do the math, 3.57 strokes gained per round last 3 months over the second best name in the field in that stretch. And I'm hiding that name for now. But the second ranked golfer over the last 3 months is at a 2.24. Over a 4-round sample, that's 5.3 shots better than anybody else in the field. We can do it over the last 6 months, whatever. It just goes to explain how much better he is than everybody right now. That second name as well is actually Tommy Fleetwood, who is going to be a difficult one to discuss at that 2.24. T3 last week, brutal fashion. Third in tee to green the last 3 months, 9th in putting. He's been putting really well since that putter switch. However, it's probably it's probably past due to have the conversation of like, oh, can Tommy win? Like this, I'm not breaking any news by like mentioning this. The way that I'm phrasing it is like, I don't think it was really fair. I don't really think it was the time to have the conversation of like, oh, this dude just can't win. Because that's not really what was going on. This feels so much more like this feels different than like when Xander was in contention and didn't win. It's like he's kind of playing himself out of it. And right or wrong, it feels that way. And my model shows value on him like slightly. I can't do it anymore.
I feel like he needs to be in a chase position where he's not able to like overthink stuff and have like these like weird, really poor shots that are un-Tommy like. Because let's go back to the headline here. He's second in true strokes gained the past 6 months. He's been in contention to win 2 separate really big tournaments. And like, you don't get there by being a bad golfer. It's just like he hasn't been able to convert. And like, it does seem like it's affecting him, which makes sense. I get it. I feel like we just need him in a chase position versus trying to hold down the lead. Like he's going to win eventually. Like I wholeheartedly know that.
Yeah.
I just like, I don't know if I can predict when it's going to happen, which is kind of a bummer, you know?
Well, what's interesting is you slightly misspoke and said he was second over the last 6 months, and he's not. He's
3 months.
Yeah. But like, okay, it's not just a 3-month thing. Over the last 6 months, he's third
Right.
behind Scotty and Rory. Scotty's still at a 3.37, which is disgusting. Rory, who's got 2 wins over the last 6 months, 2.19, and Fleetwood's at a 2.02. And then it's a drop to our guy Russell Henley at a 1.86, and then JJ Spawn at a 1.71. Also at 1.71 is Corey Connors. So anyway, like over the last half year, Tommy's been almost as good as Rory. And like, it's consistently good success. It's just, it's starting to feel different. Like it's starting to feel like there's more to it. And this only exists until he breaks through and wins. We just saw Cameron Young smash through his like ceiling and win by like 50. I don't know if like Tommy's going to step on necks right now. We don't need to like rehash the whole conversation, but my question to you is just like, is it enough to impact your DFS? Because I know we can be slightly, you've been way more down on Tommy to win than I have. I've been ignoring it. It's starting to feel like I'm not ignoring it. Does it even impact like DFS now for you?
No.
Because I don't think it does either. Oh, it should, I guess, if I don't think a guy can go out and win. But
I think the only issue that I have is the alternatives in that range. Like he's 11-1. I mean, like I'm going to ask, like, would I rather go Xander or Tommy? But I actually think I could see the case for going Tommy there over Xander. That's understandable. Xander has better distance, especially the way he's swinging it right now. But like at 10-6, I could go Ludwig. Ludwig is in much worse form than Tommy. His ball striking is trending back up, though.
Yeah.
Good course.
That's what I thought you were getting at, but yeah.
Yeah. But Tommy's objectively much better for him. But Ludwig's a good course fit. Ball striking's getting better. So it's like, I am way more open to Tommy in general for DFS than I am for betting. As you alluded to, like he's just on the no-fly zone for me for outrights, which I'll miss out, and that's okay. I'm fine with that. Because he is going to win, and it'll probably be very soon. But like for DFS, he's not in the no-fly zone. I just don't want him getting there because I like other guys more. Given that like win odds dictate FanDuel salaries, and his win odds are always really short because they have to be because he's so good.
Yeah,
it's just like I'd like other guys more, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can probably stop there with the Tommy conversation because I think we said what needs to be said, but boy, it's a tough one, and that's golf. But like you said, and like just to clarify, he's gonna win.
Oh yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
Yeah,
but it's starting to feel a little bit like let's just maybe wait. And that could be the exact wrong time to go, but you're also not getting Tommy's 30 because he blew it last week. Like,
right.
So
he's going to win when he's plus 550 in some like small field or like some like, non-elite event, and we'll all feel good for him. It'll be great. We'll be very happy for him. And then we can go back to like not bending our brains into pretzels thinking about this guy.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's move on though, because the Tommy conundrum is not really the reason for the pod. There are 2 more other names over a 2.0 true strokes gain per round over the last 3 months. And these are probably not the names you're thinking of because this is the top 50 or I guess 49 in the FedEx Cup standings for the year. The 2 guys who are in comparable form to, I mean, not even Scotty, but like to Tommy, Ben Griffin at a 2.12. He was T9 last week with positive numbers across the board. 11th best tee to green numbers over the last 3 months. Salary's only 9,300. He's 40-1 to win on FanDuel Sportsbook. The other name is major champion and players runner up JJ Spawn at a 2.02. His salary's up to 10.5. Finally, I feel like he got like
the respect bump this week.
The respect variable got added into the FanDuel because I don't recall exactly where he was last week, but it's been low for like how good he's
92, maybe.
It was like not super. Yeah. Solo second last week, was second in approach, almost won again. Like this guy
he's 2 playoffs from winning the Players and the FedEx St. Jude on top of the US Open.
Yeah. Like that's how close he is. And he is one of 3 names on the US side to clinch a Ryder Cup spot. Like The other two are Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele.
It's
Like,
insane.
Spawn at 30-1. It's so hard to like hand wave that at this point. It's like, why not?
Well, then you look at the other names that are 30-1. It's like, yeah, that makes sense. He's there because it's like it's hard to like. We're so used to these big fields, and like 30-1 in this field is different than 30-1 in a lot of fields. And it's like, man, that feels short. But then you look at the other names that are there, like actually, that makes sense to me.
Like JJ Spawn is 30-1. Colin Morikawa is 35-1.
Kurt Kitayama's 35.
Kitayama's 35.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a huge. That's a huge tier of 35. Okay. Like I'm not gonna besmirch our guy Russell Henley, who's very interesting, but like you got Colin Morikawa and Victor Hovland at 35 and JJ Spawn at 30. And if I could bet only one of those names, it's JJ Spawn right now.
Yeah.
Like
JJ Spawn's really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So those are the top four. We can dig back in to Ben Griffin later on, but let's look now at the best golfers with a salary of under 10K on FanDuel in the best form. Matt Fitzpatrick just barely missed the cutoff here. He's at a 1.99 true stroke. Nothing. Okay, never mind. 1.99
for a second. Oh, 99. Sorry. I was like, was I supposed to do a Go Cats? I didn't.
Yeah, either one.
Sorry, you're right. Go Cats.
I just figured it was coming. 1.99 true strokes gained per round for Matt Fitzpatrick the last 3 months. T32 last week with a pretty uncharacteristic off the tee number for him. He was top 10 in 4 starts prior. His distance numbers are down from a peak of about 2 years ago, but he's still like average to slightly longer than average, which is fine for this week. I think Fitzpatrick really interesting, especially at a low salary of 9,200. That's nice because we're gonna want Scotty Scheffler. Big surprise. If you can get a player the caliber of Matt Fitzpatrick on the upswing at a low 9K salary, like that's a pretty easy sell from my perspective. Next on the list is Russell Henley at a $9,800 salary on FanDuel, 35-1 on FanDuel Sportsbook to win outright. He's at a 1.81. T17 last week for a 5th straight top 20. His prior 4 finishes were top 10s. T60 here in 2021 with bad short game. Second in tee to green and 32nd in putting the last 3 months for Russell Henley. Harry Hall, next on the list, 60-1 to win. $7,800 is the salary. True value number there. 1.79 true strokes gained per round in this 3-month sample. T22 last week for a 10th straight top 30 result. He's gained putting in all 10. That's his game. He's first in putting the last 3 months, 40th in tee to green. If you look at the stabilization numbers, so last 36, to simplify it, last 36 ball striking and last 50 for short game, Harry Hall is pretty good. He's actually, I have him 6th in the field based on that number. And that's despite, he's a positive with the ball striking, but he is by far the best short game combined. 1.53 strokes gained per round from short game and a 1.12 for... Could you guess who's second
in putting?
In short, no, around the green and putting the last 50.
Scotty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not out on Harry Hall by any means at 7,800 this week. The putting in the short game, like the short game overall has been good enough for long enough. That's the stabilization rationale. One better tee to green, but at that number, that's not bad. But we also have Harris English at 8,100. He's 50-1 to win on FanDuel Sportsbook. He's at a 1.76. He did play here in 2021, finishing T26. Was 48th last week with negative approach and putting, which is kind of rare for him because he's top 15 in both of those the last 3 months. 2 more names round out the list at above a 1.5. That's Chris Gotterup at a salary of 9,100. He's 35-1 to win in that massive tier that I just realized was a massive tier on FanDuel Sportsbook. 1.73 true strokes gained per round the last 3 months. Really lost the irons last week, finishing 54th. He was 59th in approach in a 70 golfer, I guess 69 golfer field. Third longest hitter in the field the last 3 months as well, which should play well for Chris Gotterup. And then speaking of Ryder Cup, Keegan Bradley, 9,300 is the salary, 45-1 to win on FanDuel Sportsbook. He's down at a 1.58, but still kind of stands out relative to the rest of the field. 44th last week after missing the cut at the Wyndham the week prior. So since winning the Travelers, 41st, 30th cut, T44. Don't love that. Did play here in 2021, finishing 60th. Does have the 7th best tee to green game the last 3 months, though. Anybody on this list you want to talk about more?
Yeah, I think that the guys who interest me most are going to be actually a lot of guys on this list. Gotterup, I liked him more for betting when his odds were longer. He shortened quite a bit. He was 50 at open yesterday. He's now 35. That's too short for me. I wanted the rocket launcher of a driver, and a little too short now, but I like him for DFS still. Harris English, I like him for both, all formats, $8,100 for DFS. We'll talk about it in the betting section. Russell Henley will talk about the betting section, and Matt Fitzpatrick will talk about the betting section. So actually, like a lot of guys in this list, very intriguing for me. I want to account for the distance angle. Like you said, Fitzpatrick is not as long now as he once was. Henley is short off the tee relative to this field, which does limit his upside. So that's going to account for, or ultimately I view him in terms of like what markets and stuff. And then English, longer than you would think, I guess, is not you, because I know you know, but like longer than perception of Harris English might be. So I want to put that out there as like, don't write Harris English off based on like vibes and perception, because he's a bit more juicy and competitive off the tee than you may think.
Great major player, which you kind of have to have that. But so Russell Henley's a pretty good major player as well, especially U.S. Opens, I think of with Henley. But it's an interesting week with some, like, it's the top 50. No, it's 49. But it's the top. You have to be a top 50 to make this field. Yeah. And so ostensibly, it's a lot of great golfers. But the ones in better form, like I know that I talked about, like I featured the 4 names above a 2 the last 3 months. And then I go into the sub 10K. But Rory's at a 1 point. So it's Scotty, Tommy, Ben Griffin, JJ Spawn, as I mentioned. Then Matt Fitzpatrick's actually 5th. So there's not even anybody above 10K who's also above a 2. Rory's at a 1.85. Russell Henley's a 1.81. Cam Young's a 1.8. Harry Hall's a 1.79. Harris English, Chris Gotterup. Then Xander's at a 1.7. So it's like, it's one of those strange like combinations of, you got the kind of the runaway favorite with Scotty. Rory deserves a lot of that, but those other names, like just from a DFS standpoint here, like Xander, I mean, Tommy's an exception here, but like JT, Cantlay, Ludwig, like Morikawa's salaried at 10,000, and it's like, yeah, it's fair. So there's not even like the second tier to me is Rory, and then the third tier kind of drops off. I like Xander. I think Xander's in an interesting spot. He needs to play well this week to make the Tour Championship, but I can't make that be like a decisive factor for me. I'm really interested in an outright for him, but probably going to go elsewhere. So these other guys deserve a lot of attention, mostly from like a finishing position standpoint in the betting markets and from a DFS standpoint. But I don't know. There's like not a lot of dogs right now at the top.
And the second thing that complicates the tier that tier you're alluding to is that a lot of guys in that tier are not long off the tee. So if we want like juice and giddy up, we're not really getting that from Tommy. JT's not the longest off the tee. You mentioned Cantlay's really not. Like they're all like fine except for Henley, who's like below average. But it's like, if you want to check a lot of boxes this week, it's going to be tough to do so. And I think that's an important part of the conversation.
Yeah, honestly, like I get to a field like this and it's like, okay, kind of take your pick almost, because you're making a very similar case for a lot of guys. It feels a lot less like that than in years past. And even sometimes I get to a breaking point. I'm like, all right, I'm going to start doing filters in my Excel. Like, got to be like 40th percentile short putting, above average distance. Like, it's just, I don't know, it kind of narrows down, and it's like names that you don't expect because the big, like the former stars aren't really playing like stars right now.
That is true, which is why you get to situations where feels like everyone's on Cameron Young this week. That's how you get there, is stuff like that occurring, and we'll see. We'll see about that. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that in the very, very near future. First, though, let's discuss weather for this week out near Baltimore. It's going to be pretty hot on Thursday. Could have some storms Thursday afternoon too. So maybe that will cool us off out there. I would not complain about that. No wind though. It's like 6 miles per hour. So that's good. Calm winds rest of the week too. So shouldn't be anything we need to worry about as far as tee time stacking for this week. Let's dive in now to the betting odds of FanDuel Sportsbook and break down our favorite bets to win for this week at the BMW Championship. Brandon, for you, when you take a look at the odds board, what are your favorite outrights at FanDuel Sportsbook?
I'm having a hard time not liking Rory McIlroy.
At
8-1. I should have pulled this up before, but like 8-1 in this field feels like it's almost unadjusted for the fact that it's a smaller field.
Or that it's a bomber's paradise, potentially.
Well, there's that, yeah. But like, he was 7-1 at the Open, 12 at the US Open, like really plus 450 at the PGA. Like,
yeah,
8-1's
a good value.
Like it just feels like this could be 6, and you'd be like, yeah, that makes sense because it's a smaller field. But it's 8, and you go back through everything that Rory did well in terms of getting the most out of his game. He's now got 2 more weeks to sort of step on it and get a lot of money out of the PGA Tour season, and then, focus on the Ryder Cup. And he didn't play last week, and that takes a lot of guts, I think, to like just be like, no, I'm not playing last week. I'm playing the final 2. And to be honest, we're not that far removed from having the conversation of Scotty or Rory. And we did point out, like, hey, Scotty's actually in better form than Rory, despite Rory having all the wins. And that kind of flipped. But I'm not making a case that Rory's on that level of Scotty. Scotty deserves to be plus 220. This is not a coin flip by any means. But you talk about the course fit, where distance should matter. We all know Rory pounds driver off the tee. But what really stands out to me is like the putting numbers being good. He's above average, 52nd percentile from within 15 feet. Yes, he's making a lot of long putts, but I kind of want that for a guy like Rory to give him more confidence over the short ones, and also to have him play his game. And Rory's got kind of a peculiar history with the FedEx Cup playoffs. I feel like there should be more general success for Rory in the FedEx Cup playoffs. He's still been successful, but it just feels like there should be more. I don't know. That's a narrative that's not actually factored in here. It's just kind of, I think Rory could reestablish himself over the Tour Championship, or I guess the rest of the FedEx Cup playoffs, and leading into the Ryder Cup, and potentially leading Europe to some glory on American soil. For him to sit out last week, I think, is actually like a good sign in a weird way. Rory's just like really hard to pinpoint at this point, but he's top 10 in strokes gained per shot as well, to get back into like the actual analysis here. From 200 plus yards over the last 12 months. We know he's long off the tee, but he's also a great player on long approaches, which is gonna matter this week with all these long holes. Did finish 4th back here in 2021. Like, everything is on track for Rory to come back and like take this course as deep as he can and reestablish himself as the clear number 2. And there's nothing wrong with being the number 2, but just reminding us that he's still here, because we haven't seen him since the Open.
A lot of what you said was like anecdotal stuff, talking about like Rory, and you got into the data eventually, but like the anecdotal stuff I think is good for Rory. But it's also important that like the data's good too, frankly. Like, he had that lull around like the PGA Championship and stuff like that. But he finished 19th at the US Open, kind of rallied across the weekend there. Since then, his finishes are 6th, 2nd, and 7th. He's done that without the driver really doing what it can do. And now we're going to a course where distance matters a lot. Finished 4th here in 2021 where the driver was really, really good for him there. It's a limited field. There are no live guys this week. He shouldn't be 8-1, I don't think. So I feel like at 8-1, it's so hard not to just bet Rory McIlroy and figure it out, because that number to me just feels like we're forgetting how special this guy is, and frankly, underrating how good of golf he's been playing for the past couple of months.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the driver stats not being great over that 3-event sample. So at the Travelers, according to Data Golf, he gained 0.23 strokes per round off the tee. At the Scottish Open, 0.07, and the Open 0.61. But really, he missed a lot of fairways, and for the most part, like, Scottish Open's a little bit different, but missing fairways was fine. And he gained at least 24 yards per drive on the field at those events. Like, that's what 2021 kind of said you need to do. That's what a distance breakdown suggests you need to be able to do this week. And you add in the iron play being great still, add in the putting. I looked long and hard at Xander as always at 18-1. There are a lot of reasons to like Xander. Just kind of selling yourself on it. You don't have to sell yourself on Rory at 8-1. Like, it's all there staring us in the face. And
I'm not going to regret it.
Yeah. It's just not one you can regret in a 49 golfer field at 8-1. I think if he played last week and finished another top 10, he's plus 600 probably.
Yeah, I think so too.
So
yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Okay, so we're both in Rory McIlroy 8-1 to win this week. I will admit, didn't realize you had Cameron Young on your sheet when I kind of S-talked him earlier on.
Yeah, you did.
A little drive-by for Cam Young. So obviously you're going to sell me. Pitch me on why Cameron Young is a good bet to win at 30-1.
We want distance here. We want putting.
Simple as that.
It's basically as simple as that. So
he's very green on this sheet in both distance and putting. So I get it.
So to me, I think, like, okay, we're waiting for Tommy to like take the lid off and have all the wins flow in. Look, we've seen it. A golfer's good, can't win, good, can't win, kind of goes away, gets good again, wins, and then wins come. Like, we see clustered wins more often than we think. And I don't see why that can't be Cameron Young, to be honest, especially at an event or a track like this one. So was 5th last week after a pretty dominant win at the Wyndham. And I think we could just be in the middle of a bit of a hot streak that's also supported with long-term data in the categories that I want to see some good long-term numbers. So we know he's long off the tee, 6th over the last 50 rounds in this field and distance. He's also one of the best putters in the field. 5th in strokes gained putting over the last 50 rounds, and 5th among this field in putting from within 15 feet on tour this year. That's pretty, like, you don't get that combination very often. I mentioned Scotty being a 94th percentile putter from within 15 feet, and we know he's long off the tee. I mentioned Rory being 52nd percentile. Cameron Young's a 95th percentile putter from within 15 feet and 93rd percentile. And that's the full tour. That's not just this field. 93rd percentile beyond that. That is a good recipe for getting a lot of birdie chances this week and converting on those. And I just think that you look at Cam Young, look, nobody watches more TGL than me. Me and Sierra started rewatching it. She missed it that much.
Can I? Okay. This will only make sense to people who listen to the No Laying Up podcast. Are you TGL incel? Like, is
no.
Okay. No. I had to ask. I had to clear the air. I know you're talking about watching this with your wife, which would disqualify the whole thing. But anyway, go ahead.
So, like, you just get a feel for Cameron Young that he's a very confident guy, just not outwardly like fist pumping. And I feel like a win like that and following it up with that 5th place finish last week is building up like oh yeah, I'm every bit as good as these guys at my best. And so, yeah, that's a little bit narrative-y, but I also laid out the putting couldn't be much better. He's long off the tee, and the irons are trending up. He's gained on approach in 4 of his last 5 starts over his last 36 rounds. So when we can, start to trust some of these numbers here, he's 31st among this 49 golfer field in approach, which doesn't sound great, but he's a positive because it's a great field. He's a 0.38 per round guy in that span. And whenever you look at what he can do spike week wise, he's actually a lot better than you'd probably think. So for me, Cam Young has what it takes at a number where everything kind of drops off. Should I prefer JJ Spawn? Who could say? Maybe. But there's something about Cam Young in this week where I think he could go out and do it again for the second time in 3 events.
Okay. You sold me enough on where he checks boxes, so I understand why you are there. And you're on Cameron Young 30 along with Rory 8. I can understand it. The key hang-up for me on Cameron Young is there is a golfer who is decent amount longer than him, who I feel pretty good about. Doesn't check the same boxes as Cameron Young, but is a very good golfer who is in elite form, like you said. We're looking for guys who could be on heaters right now. Is a good putter and has had some good ball striking recently. That guy is Matt Fitzpatrick, who checks in at 40-1 to win this week. And I'd rather take Fitzpatrick at 40 than Cameron Young at 30 personally. And you mentioned the distance not only there for Fitzpatrick recently, which is very fair. He had an uptick in distance. That's kind of scaled back. Seems like that's been a good thing for him. It seems like kind of helped lead to uptick we've seen from Fitzpatrick over the summer. But the ball striking really, really good prior to last week. We know we shouldn't overreact to, one event of data for ball striking. The short game for Fitzpatrick's been good for his entire career, basically. And the ball striking has been good across the entire summer. If you look at relevant strokes game, which is the number I use, which is past 24 off the tee, 36 approach, and 50 with short game, Fitzpatrick ranks 4th in this field, and that number behind Scotty Scheffler, Tommy Fleetwood, and Russell Henley. And he has a little bit more juice off the tee than both Henley and Tommy Fleetwood. And we're getting him at the longest number of any of those guys. Kind of feels like we just forgot about Matt Fitzpatrick, where, we were riding for a couple of weeks, has some okay events, and suddenly we're discarding the 40-1. I don't want to do that. So I like Matt Fitzpatrick to win this week at 40-1. Where are you in Fitzpatrick for the BMW Championship?
Porque no los dos. I also like Matt Fitzpatrick. I just, we kind of settled into 2 outrights here. And if I had a third, it probably would have been Fitzpatrick. I have him as a top 10.
Okay.
Echoing a lot of the sentiments that you have. 17th in strokes gained ceiling over everyone's last 50 rounds, which I think is very, very relevant in a small field. And so you don't need to be first in order to win. You just need to have a semblance of upside. But I have a top 10 at plus 260. It's just my angle here because I went with Rory and Cam Young as my outrights, but he's taken a step back with the distance as we've discussed, so I don't need to rehash that. But he's first in the field in strokes gained per shot from 200 plus yards over the last 12 months and 7th from 150 plus. So long approaches, great player there, and a 91st percentile putter from within 15 feet on tour this season. 24th percentile beyond that. So some regression probably coming Fitzpatrick's way. To me, I think it's actually a similar case for Fitzpatrick and Cameron Young, but I think that Cameron Young having the distance is enough of an edge. 30 versus 40, I get it. It's very different, but we've also seen Fitzpatrick kind of flirt and then not really be there as much. Sure. I think this is like a perception thing, and I know I'm paying the premium for that with Cam Young, who sincerely, maybe he wins once and he goes away forever. And it's like, oh yeah, remember that time Cam Young actually did it? I think that this could just be the breakthrough for Cameron Young that leads to more consistent upside weeks. And he was also in contention at the US Open. He doesn't always play himself out of things. He just doesn't get over that finish line. It feels a lot like Xander back in the day to me, honestly, of that confident, solid, tee to green player, way underrated putter, goes out, gets it done. If he kind of falls behind, you don't really notice it because it's just Cam Young. So aside from everyone who bets him all the time, I don't have that relationship with Cam Young. So I'm not oh, I got to keep going after him. But I like Fitzpatrick. I just landed on him for a top 10 at plus 260 for the week, but I have no issues with an outright, and I'm also going to bet him outright. I bet a lot of my top 10s is outrights as well, like Justin Rose, for example.
That worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that Fitzpatrick works out just as well for both of us too. So I have Fitzpatrick at 40-1 to win. In addition to Rory McIlroy, you have Rory at 8 and Cameron Young at 30 for this week. You also mentioned you have Fitzpatrick to finish top 10. That is plus 260. You've got one other non-outright as well. Who is the other non-outright you are eyeing for this week at the BMW Championship?
I mean, it's Russell Henley as always. We talked about JJ Spawn necessarily like not getting like enough respect for how good of a golfer he is. I think the same thing applies to Russell Henley. He's just on the list as always because he's good and has been good for a while. And to get things like out of the way, I know the distance is going to be a potential issue for him this week. He loses about 11.5 to 12 yards per drive to the average PGA Tour golfer, according to Data Golf, over the last 50 rounds. That's 48th among 49 golfers in the field this week. But other than that, everything is great. 10th in approach, 3rd around the green the last 50, and 20th in putting. Despite that lack of distance, he's still 30th in strokes gained off the tee in this sample. And to me, like the real kind of kicker is that he's 8th in strokes gained per shot over the last 12 months from 150 plus yards, according to Data Golf. He's the type of name that when we have a longer course, I get it, like kind of being a little bit hesitant, but he's come through on longer tracks. Great US Open track record. Just when I think of Henley, it's like, okay, he can do it anywhere because he does it in these difficult situations. And I haven't really talked about like strokes gained ceiling too much on this week's show, but he is 4th of the last 50 rounds in ceiling. I think if anything, Russell Henley might have a better win case than Matt Fitzpatrick. But again, I like all of them and I'm going to be on all of them for outrights. It's just a matter of like, I'm not going to list all 5 outrights for the show. It does like, that's the problem here. Maybe we start rattling off our full like outright list.
I've thought about that because like when I had JJ Spawn at the US Open, I was like, well, I didn't talk about this in the show because he had moved. Yeah. But like also I'd be talking about him on the show when he was no longer at the number I liked him at. So it's like I've thought about that because like it kind of is more fun to have a more full card. I don't know. I've thought about that too though.
Well, like I don't know. I like Justin Rose last week for a top 10. I also liked him for more than that. But do we want to list out our full card? Like that's going to take forever, and that's not. I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah. Also, my full card includes.
But yeah,
it includes Goddard up at 45. So it's like
okay.
Yeah. And he's 35 now, so it's not even relevant. Actually, the rest of them are fine. So actually, I could. But yeah.
But to clarify, I like Fitz I think Fitz can win. I think Henley can win, even though they're my non-outrights.
Yeah, I took Henley for a top 10 personally, and he's one of my top 10 bets for the show too. I couldn't quite get to the outright because of the distance. That's like he has the upside, like you said. I just don't know if he has the upside at this specific course. That's kind of my key hang up. But I just think he's a good enough golfer to finish top 10, even while losing ground in some of the longer holes here. Finished 17th last week, even though the putter wasn't as good as it typically is. The rest of the game was solid for Henley. So no major concerns there, including the driver. The driver's really good there for him last week. Ranks 3rd in the field in relevant strokes gained. So plus 230, Henley makes a lot of sense for me. I am very okay with that one. My other non-outright is Harris English. Harris English at FanDuel Sportsbook right now, 3-1. We talked a lot about HE on the show over the past couple of months for good reason, I think. Because honestly, again, just a better golfer than you think, but also a bit longer than you think because he's about average relative to the average professional male golfer. Slightly plus there. He's able to hang in events where distance does matter, partly because his irons are sick. He can put his brains out. He played well here back in 2021. Harris English 3-1 for a top 10 in this small of a field. I kind of love that. So if you gave me just one bet for this week, honestly, might go Harris English top 10 at 3-1. That might be the one I'd pick. How do you feel about HE this week?
Yeah, very similar to you. A lot of our guys keep popping up, but our guys pop up because of continued success in the stats that we think are relevant.
Yeah.
He is top 25 in all 4 strokes gain categories the last 50 rounds. Not many guys are going to be able to say that even in a smaller field. The distance, I mean, I don't think of him as a short hitter, but it seems like you kind of keep calling attention to that. But I don't think he's short by any means. And to be honest, I think he's just one of those golfers who he's not going to be phased by playing like in a tough field. And I think there's some merit to that as well this week.
I'd agree. So my 2 non-outrights, Harris English 3-1, Russell Henley plus 230. You got Henley at plus 230 to go with Matt Fitzpatrick for a top 10 that is plus 260, all at FanDuel Sportsbook. Let's talk some DFS right now. As you mentioned, we want Scotty Scheffler for this week. His salary in FanDuel is $13,100. Kind of a bargain, right? I know it's a small field, so like they have to reduce salaries in order to allow us to like fit guys in, but I think 13-1 is sick, and I'll happily take that. My question for you is, do we jam in Rory as well? Because if we do that, Scotty plus Rory, 88.25 left. There are some golfers in the low 8,000 range, like Harris English, who I like. There are some golfers like Harry Hall in the 7,000 range I can justify. Personally, I think if you give me one lineup, I'm going Scotty plus Rory. Figure it out from there. What about for you?
Very, very possible, and probably very likely that I go that route. Scotty is a no-brainer in terms of all contest types, to be honest, to me. I think you need him to finish outside the top 10 in a 49 golfer field, like to probably see a lot of leverage be worth it. I don't know. So to me, it's a matter of like, do you view Rory to that degree? And you mentioned like Scotty being a bargain. Rory, similar to like the conversation we had with 8-1. It's like he's 11-6.
Like he should be 12. 12.
He's the clear number. Yeah. Like he's the clear number 2 guy long term. So 88.25 left. You know, it's a little bit tight, but as we talk about the tier below this, I don't think we're going to see a lot anyway. So who do we want to get back up to? A couple of names that would be interesting, but is it worth it? Probably not. So I think Scotty and Rory is where I'd like to start my best lineup.
I'd agree. If I can't get to Rory, because it'd be sacrificing Rory instead of sacrificing Scotty for me at least.
Yeah.
If I can't get back up there, I'd go Ludwig. 10-6, has the distance. As mentioned, the ball striking has been a lot better recently, and he's like one of the lower salaried guys in that second tier. It depends on how you define the second tier, but if we just go with the guys who are shorter than that gaggle of guys who are 30-1, he is the lowest salaried at 10-6, followed by Cantlay at 10-8. So I think I go Ludwig. I have my concerns, which is why I'm not like, that's why I prefer to get to Rory, but like, I think that Ludwig is a good consolation prize if I decide I can't quite get back up to Rory.
Yeah, I keep looking at Ludwig. I thought I would actually get there maybe from a betting standpoint, but I don't see enough.
I tried. I looked into it too and couldn't talk myself into it.
The number's not good enough.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
We talk about like strokes gain stabilization because we're talking about like his ball striking getting better. That's true. He's 13th in the last 36 rounds of ball striking, so that's off the tee plus approach. Where he's lagging is the short game. Which has
been true for a bit, and like that's tough.
He's 35th in last 50 short game. And one of the things that bothers me with Ludwig is, speaking of TGL, made all his putts early on a TGL. Felt like he couldn't miss. He's actually a 24th percentile putter from within 15 feet and 77th percentile beyond that. Like,
that ain't great.
It's almost speed. Like, I don't want to say it's like Spieth because nobody's like Jordan Spieth historically with the putter, but it feels like sometimes he just makes a ton. He also plays that blade. Like, it's reminiscent of like, oh, this dude's not going to miss, but it's actually not as good as it might feel. So it's honestly the short game. I think there's enough complications where you mentioned Ludwig in DFS. I think I'd rather go JJ Spawn in DFS, frankly.
That's fair. I could understand that for sure. Yeah. I think that Spawn is like the higher floor play. And like, frankly, I should say is a higher upside too, because like he's kind of proven that. So maybe you're right. Maybe Spawn is a better play at 10-5.
Yeah, I mean, even in terms of ceiling, like, and you kind of factor in like Ludwig's 23rd in strokes gained ceiling, Spawn's 8th the last 50 rounds. Spawn's also 11th in floor, and Ludwig is 15th. Like that's not the only measure that you care about or anything, but you're kind of, there is a discount on Ludwig, I get that, but I'd go Spawn. I still go Cameron Young over Ludwig. That might be silly, but
no, that's fair. I get
take some savings.
I get it. Cameron Young's salary is 10-2. Let's scroll down further. I'm not a Morikawa at 10,000. Are you?
No, I'd rather play Russell Henley.
And if I want Henley, an accurate, I think he's a better like top 10 bet than he is a DFS play personally. Like he's probably a fine DFS play at 98.
Well, if I'm picking one, it's like if I want an accurate driver who's got good irons, I'm going Henley over Morikawa at the moment.
Right. Like Morikawa, it's weird. I don't know. His irons are still really good. It's just everything else has been tough for him for sure. Henley at 9.8. Hovland at 95. I don't think he's like an amazing value, but he's a guy I'll use him in that range because the irons were good again last week, despite like just an okay week. Like the irons were good again, so I don't mind him. But then in the lower 9K range, you have Goddard up at 91, who has the distance. Fitzpatrick at 92, who I think can win this event. So I think the best plays in the 9,000 range are on the lower end. In Goddard up at 91 and Fitzpatrick 92. What about you in the 9K range?
Agree with those two, but are you glossing over Ben Griffin?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. Is it just distance related? Like he's fine in distance, but
it's more about like I can't play everyone, and I prefer Fitzpatrick and Goddard up. I guess I don't know. Maybe I could play everyone. Like if I go Scotty plus Ludwig, I'd be in this range a lot, but I prefer Fitz and Goddard up over Griffin. I prefer Griffin over Keegan, over Justin Rose, over Matt McNeely.
Yeah, I'm not as into Rose.
Hovland is tough. But yeah, like he's fine. It's like those other guys more.
Yeah, I think Fitz is the clear standout here. Goddard up's very much in that conversation due to course fit. Mm-hmm. I still like Griffin. I don't want to write him off. But I do think those are the biggest names below 95. I'm struggling with Hovland. I'm probably not going to get there. So it feels like one of those who'll finish, T4 or something. But
the Hovland coaster, just whenever you're not on it, it goes up.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. I think there's some good value plays for this week. A lot of guys we tend to like. It's the nature of a small field. You need to have someone be low salary. And it's one of the top 49 guys in the FedEx Cup. Eventually someone's got to be lower salaried. So below 9,000, which value plays are you zeroing in on this week?
I mean, it's not great.
Yeah. It's not awful, but it's not great.
I would go with below 9K, just starting from the top. Corey Connors would pop a bit more than the rest over Hideki, Sungjae, Akshay at a course like this. Ricky playing some good golf, but I don't necessarily want to trust that just yet either. Kurt Kitayama, I mean, tee to green, I just don't know what the putter's going to do. So maybe I'm struggling with this more than I thought. I guess Kitayama would be the next name behind Connors that I feel okay with.
Can I pitch you on Kitayama quick?
Sure.
So Kitayama, I mean, like you can line win odds up to like FanDuel salaries. He stands out there. That's one route. But also like we look at stroke gain and stabilization, shorter samples on ball striking, longer samples on short game. Kitayama's putter sucks. But even accounting for that, he's still at 1.62 in relevant strokes gained. If you look at golfers in this field, that actually ranks 11th out of all golfers, one spot behind Cameron Young. It is one spot ahead of Harris English. And I guess Harry Hall's up there too. So like I should probably like
Yeah.
Harry Hall more. But like Kitayama, even when you account for the fact that he's a bad putter, I don't want to double count that against him. So I wind up being okay with an 84, even while acknowledging that, yeah, the short game is bad and probably will remain so.
45th percentile in short putting and 8th percentile in long putting too. So I think you
45th percentile is way above what I would have expected.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, strokes gained putting is you got to make sure the sample's long enough, but even still, it can kind of be bombarded with some variance.
Yep. So I like Kitayama 84. I'm okay with the guys above him, frankly. No one like super, super fun. The next guy I'm like itching to use is Harris English at 81. I think you've talked me into Harry Hall at 78 too, as being a guy I can use. Makes the Rory plus Scotty build pretty easy. I can get back up to maybe even like a Cam Young at 10 too if I decide to use Harry. Well, that might be ambitious. But like I think the Harris English is good. Harry Hall solid. Who else stands out to you down here?
Yeah. So HE, like I'm kind of over Shane Lowry, frankly.
Yeah, I agree.
Harry Hall's doing enough with the short game for me to be okay with it. Even though it goes against my process, it's stabilized enough. Honestly, I don't know. It's scary, but minimum salary Daniel Berger.
Oh, okay.
It's been
tough.
He is
been hard out here for our guy.
This can't be. Is this right? Let me double check this. Last 36 rounds in ball striking. Oh, don't make me do this. Oh my gosh.
Strokes gain to stabilization. He ain't great.
In ball striking?
No, strokes gain to stabilization.
That's because his short game's terrible. Yeah, Guess where he is in ball striking last 36 rounds though.
Is it actually second?
He's second. By a good mark. It's Scotty's at a 2.69 in off the tee plus approach. Berger's at a 1.57. And only, speaking of Kurt Kitayama, 1.44, and nobody else is above a 1.3. And that's Cantlay at a 1.29 for those of you who want to start yourself on Cantlay. But Berger has lost 0.49 with putting and 0.53 around the green. That's why his stabilization numbers are bad, and we should trust that the short game is bad for that long. But
yeah,
I mean, if a minimum salary kind of top 2 ball striker makes a Scotty, Rory, like you can say Ludwig or whoever, would that work?
I don't know. It hurts. Berger. I've used too much Berger recently.
Yeah, you can do. There's enough value to do a 3 stud lineup, frankly. Yeah. Like, and I mean studs, like studs.
Yeah, so, I can't do it.
I would be situationally okay with Daniel Berger.
Okay, I will pass. I've been burned too many times. I think I'll go with Harris English and Harry Hall as my value plays. Okay,
that's fine.
Who are your loves for DFS for the BMW Championship?
Scotty Scheffler for sure.
Yep.
In terms of true loves of like building blocks, this is harder than I thought now. I'm going to say Rory because I can do it.
Same.
So Scotty and Rory. Loves Matt Fitzpatrick.
Okay.
And I have Corey Connors, I think, rated highly enough where I would do that.
Okay. I've got Rory, Scotty. I agree with you on Fitz, 92. I'd probably put Goddard up as like a pretty decent play at 91.
Yeah.
And then Harris English at 81 is a guy I'd label a love. I can't make Kitayama a love. I know that like he's due for some putting regression, but like the overall putting numbers are bad enough where I can't make him a love, but he's someone I'm going to use and I'm cool with that. Harry Hall is another to consider for me, is what I would say.
Yeah. I mean, Hall's still positive last 36 in ball striking, but it's just toward the bottom end.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Especially relative to this field, which has a lot of good ball strikers in it. That's where, but that's kind of accounted for in like a lot of the data we look at. Like it accounts for his like middling ball striking, and he's still good. So it that matters for sure. Let's finish up with the win picks. You won the bobble hat last week, which means you can either pick first and fourth or second and third. I actually don't know which one you'll pick for this one. I don't think there's an obvious like first pick because you need 25 to 1 or longer to pass me, correct?
23 technically.
Okay. So that means Patrick Cantlay, Justin Thomas at 25 on down. Means you can't go Ludwig unless you want to go Ludwig plus Scotty and hope that, pull the parlay for next week, basically.
Yeah, I need to get the winner right next week. So I'm struggling with Cantlay. I thought he was going to be the obvious choice here, but I don't love the ceiling numbers. I'm gonna sit this one out, and I'm gonna go second and third.
Okay, that's tough. Kind of was hoping he wouldn't do that. It does enable me to pick a shorter golfer with my third one because I don't need to block you anymore, but I do need to block you with this first pick. So basically, of the guys who are 30 to 1 or longer, who scares me most as a potential winner this week? That's what I had to ask. And it's also like, who could you consider picking, et cetera, et cetera. So like, if I wanted to be kind of a D, I could pick Cameron Young, but I don't like Cameron Young enough. Could go JT, could go Cantlay. Man, JT's form is not making me feel pretty here. I am going to. I don't think you're going to take JT. I'll take JT. Whatever. I think he's the most likely winner of that group.
I will go with Cameron Young at 30 and Russell Henley at 35.
Okay. I could have blocked you with Young, but I just I don't know. I didn't feel the need. Gosh, he's going to make me feel really stupid, isn't he? Whatever.
Cameron Young?
Okay. Yeah.
I just think that there's enough bad thoughts on Cameron Young to assume that that's who he is. And I think that there's a chance he's always been a guy, always been one of the guys and hasn't gotten to that point. And I legitimately think that for him specifically, this could lead to positive change for him in terms of reaching his ceiling.
Okay.
Even without that, the data is good enough to consider Cam Young at 30 to 1.
Okay. That makes sense. So you got Cam Young at 30 and you've got Russell Henley at 35. I have JT at 25. I no longer have to block you in anyone, which means I could try to make your life a bit harder next week at the Tour Championship and pick some a bit shorter. So I'm going to go Rory at 8 to 1 and basically just lop off some dudes for you next week if Rory were to win this week. I think that's the way if we're playing things based on the game, I think that Rory's the best way for me to do so.
I agree. I think that was the right combo. Well, I don't know about JT, but I think
it was about JT either. Honestly,
I think Rory
I was really
annoyed
you made me pick first. Oh well. Although then I would have had to block you on 2 guys, and I didn't know to block you on 1, so it's I don't know.
Well, I had 3 names. It was Cam Young, Henley, and Matt Fitzpatrick. So I just guaranteed I get 2 of them.
Yeah, it makes sense. So I've got Rory at 8 and JT at 25. You've got Cameron Young at 30 and Russell Henley at 35 as our win picks for the contest for this week. Any final thoughts, Brandon, before we close up shop for the BMW Championship in the second to last event of the year?
I always kind of lead off with a way to differentiate or a different way to think about it. I think the big thing you can do differently this week is change the type of stats that you're looking for. If you think that there might be an edge in how 2021 wasn't indicative, it's long, but you don't need to be super long off the tee. There's probably a lot of value in doing that. And when there's uncertainty is, golf, even betting, but specifically DFS, it's about zigging when people were zagging, etc. Course fit and key stats, I think, is probably one of the most underrated and easiest ways to do it. I still think that we have the right read on it where distance should matter, but you could build an accuracy friendly, sharp iron playing player pool. And maybe that's actually what it takes at Caves Valley long term. So that's just a different way to think about it this week.
Yep, I think that approach in general is something I'm very, very fond of, for sure. That is all that we have here for this week. But as mentioned, back with you once again next week for the Tour Championship on Tuesday, as always, right here on the FanDuel Research Podcast feed and the FanDuel Golf Betting YouTube page. Go there, leave us a thumbs up on YouTube and hit subscribe there. Also, check out the FanDuel Football Betting YouTube page. And of course, Heat Check NFL just around the corner. Brandon, if people have questions for you on social media, where can they find you there?
I'm on X at Gdula13, GDULA13, and on Blue Sky at Gdula.
I am on X and Blue Sky at JimSannes, and on Threads at Jim.Sannes. You can find FanDuel Research on X at FanDuel Research. Want to give a big thank you to our YouTube producer, Justin Lane, for his work on the video side of things. Thank you, Justin, as always. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Good luck to you with your bets and your DFS picks for the BMW Championship. We'll talk to you once again next week for the Tour Championship. This has been the Heat Check, a FanDuel Research podcast.